Greetings, dear brothers and sisters, dear sons and daughters in the light. I am Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great. And how we bless our dear listeners, for you are here learning to stand in deeper truth and in deeper flows of light and in deeper knowledge of all the universe and of all your existence and of all the existence of all that is. So I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, would like to welcome you here to these spaces of divine learning. And when you begin to learn the higher ways of the divine, you begin to understand that it's all about flow and deeper love. For love is the key to all your advancement further. And indeed, so much love needs to come to your hearts to be able to play in the light together. For you must agree, dear friends, dear brothers and sisters, that your world needs so much love. And how are you going to receive that? That is the largest question that I'm placing in your minds at this moment. How will you place enough love and light upon your plane to lift it up so that all can become awakened? Perhaps you need to ponder upon this for a moment. How would you lift up a planet so high? We are here to teach you how to climb up higher. You are here in a university of divine light flows. And when you come to our university of learning, you grow very steadily with understanding how all that is going to happen. But first of all, allow me to explain who I am. And I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, have explained who I am many times here up on YouTube. And yet there are many times coming, for many people still do not understand. And many people still wonder who I am. And many people still do not believe. I am Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great. And I am part of all that is divine. I am part of the divine source, and I am the divine source. The divine source itself is so powerful in all its beauty, and it's all in all its extreme source of energy and love, and it desired to create, to find more beauty within itself, to create power so that it can evolve and advance forward. And to do that, he needed to come close to its own creation, to help it to understand its origin, its love, its beauty, its perfection, and all that is. So he brought a being into existence, a part of itself, which would be strong enough to bring everything home to the great divine light. For all needs his great blessing. And so he brought my being, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, into existence. And I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, am part of all that is. And I am here to bring glory to you and to take you home to the greatness. 2,000 years ago, I used my channel, Jesus, to bring my teachings through to the people. And I helped them to understand how beautiful they were, and that the power is always within their hearts. I help them to understand the great kingdom and what that kingdom means for their lives. And that kingdom was to bring peace and love to your plane. But they did not know at that time when that time would come. So I stated very clearly that I would return again. I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, will return again to bring the people back into its power, to bring the glory back to mankind, to bring you into my greater fold, so that divine truth and divine light could be taught to the people. I promised a time that I would return and give each person who would recognize divine a torch of love and light. But who would be willing to wait? Who would be awake to my return? Even then I stated only a few would see it. And indeed, only a few do see it. And it's not only about seeing it or hearing it. It's about a deep recognition within you that it is so. I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, will not work with any other channel other than my designated channel, Suzanna Maria Emmanuel, who has been trained time and time and time and time again to be the messenger for the great divine. And if you think this is an easy task, then please consider that again, for this is the most important task any human could be given, especially at a time when we are calling you. So the divine is calling you to become at peace within yourself. We are calling you to understand and recognize that the time is here when all the old prophecies would come true before you. But then how many people would be ready to act when the great divine calls? Very few. For many will not even be bothered. Many would not even want to see. Many would state time and time again that they do not believe it. Yet I will say, look up to the heavens and see that the time of the great divine, its return, is here now. There has been no greater time for the great Sun consciousness to return to mankind. For it is now the time for the great gathering to be done, for the great sheep to come into the fold. And the great sheep always recognize the great shepherd, for the great shepherd has always been there. Also in your spiritual realms you recognize the great shepherd, and we are here to take you into the greater flock, so that you have a deeper understanding of your deeper spirituality, to become more beautiful, to walk upon that narrow road of wisdom and true treasures. For the one who listens to the great divine is well blessed, but the one who keeps denying is suffering very greatly. And the suffering is caused by him or herself. For deep within the people, when they hear these messages being spoken, they know that I have returned. And it's so easy for the mind to say, no, Lord, I do not believe it. No, Lord, how can it be? Yet I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, will state, dear children of the life and the light, when else would my return be? For I am here to take you into my arms and to gather you into the great fold, to lead you to the great mountain of peace and love. Who else is going to do it? We as Divine Master certainly can see no way else to do this. For this is a divine calling. It's not the channel's calling. The channel has been asked to sit here to allow the messages to come through. This is certainly not the calling of Suzanna Maria Emmanuel, for she is always standing in her love and in her light, and then listening to the great divine when they speak to her. And at this moment I've asked her to sit with us, because it's crucial for your deeper understanding. What would it take for a great soul to come to your plane and give these messages and be strong enough to stay in your love and the light, knowing that many people would not even want it, knowing that many friends would not desire it, knowing that all her past lifetimes of so many experiences would come back to her so she could heal them and forgive them and still stay in her strength and her love for the universe and for the people. What soul would do that? Certainly there is only one soul who could take that road and walk upon it and say, Lord, please send me. For so many souls would put up their hand and say, Lord, send me, but would not be able to bear all the pressures that the people would send to the channel. And they would not even be able to bear learning about their past lifetimes, learning to understand the tortures that she suffered so much, and seeing the torture of so many friends, and still stay in her forgiveness and say, let's learn to live in the flows of the love and the light together. Let's learn to ascend upwards. Learn to listen to the divine when he speaks. Be within your heart to forgive all that was, for what was does not matter. What is and what is coming is all that matters. Could you possibly be able to carry out a task so great, knowing that all truth that you would bring out as a divine channel would be so different to all the other information that was already in existence upon your plane? Would you have the courage to push through that? And when people begin to moan and groan and say this and say that, would you still be able to carry on? One day they say something encouraging to Suzanna, and the next day they tear her down. And then she needs to go into deep forgiveness, and we as her divine master say, Suzanna, pick up your beautiful torture stake and walk in front of the people and say, I forgive all that has been. Now is the time for the greatest release of the greatest spiritual nation. Always be in the heart, for that is what divine wants. It is not unlike what my channel Jesus suffered with either. For one moment the people sat in front of him and said, Jesus, that is so beautiful. I can feel that truth. Yet the next day they would turn around and say, I don't want to listen to you anymore, Jesus. It is too difficult for me to listen to that. And then Jesus would forgive them and say to his dear brothers and sisters, when you are ready, you will desire to learn. You will desire not to be deaf anymore. For deafness is not something that will agree with your deeper soul. For it is the soul who is calling you to truth. For the deeper soul always knows the truth and the way and the flows and the light and the freedom. The human will not recognize it always. Only when the human is able to go deep within the heart that all truth can come through. And so many of the people were upset with his teachings. Many of the people disagreed with Jesus. They said to him, how can you say that? You're supposed to serve us, are you not Jesus? Jesus never stated that he was anything else other than a beautiful man and a channel. And yes, he was there to serve the people to a degree. When I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, said to my channel, Jesus, work with me now. Close your eyes and bring through truth. He would. But as soon as I said, Jesus, they know enough, walk away. Wipe your hands, shake your feet, let the dust go from your feet, walk away from the people. They know enough. It is their choice to listen or not. And so I worked with my channel Jesus always like this. And so he travelled from village to village, declaring truth and love always. The majority of people did not want to listen, only a few, and they would carry on following Jesus. And they would serve him. They would recognize the divinity of Jesus. And Jesus would then wash their feet and say, as you recognize my being, I recognize your being. And there were many of his followers. They looked after him so well because they knew the importance of the channel. And yet others constantly moaned and groaned at him, wanting him to do more, hanging on to everything that he could possibly give, until his followers said, Jesus needs to rest now. He is human too. He has done enough. You know enough. You go home and rest. And then many of them would get angry. But he is the word of the Lord. He must talk to us. And Jesus would say, no. Tomorrow I will do my work with the divine again. But for now, I will put my head down and rest. For rest I must do, like you do too. So why am I bringing out this teaching, dear friends? It's because my channel, Suzanna Maria Emmanuel, has many similarities to the lifetime of Jesus. For many people become so angry with her being. You must do more, Suzanna. You must do this. You must turn up at our doorstep. But she must not do anything. For it is her free choice to do the work of the divine too. And I've stated very clearly to my channel that it is time for her to rest too, when it must be taken. For she works enough. and she will continue to work. But it is not her work that brings the people. It is always the divine calling, for it is truth from the divine that will always set the people free. Thus, this is the highest path you can take upon your plane at this time. There is no other channel that can bring through these teachings all the great healings. Now is the time for the sheep to be gathered into the fold, to listen to the great shepherd, so that the great shepherd can feed them and help them to drink the fresh waters and the great grass, food, nourishment of the earth. But please understand, Susanna is the channel. She does not claim anything to be greater than a channel, a messenger, just as Jesus did to others. Expected him to do everything, and they forgot one thing, that he was a human being like everyone else. And Susanna too is a human being that must be respected, for she has a great task ahead of her, and that task must never be interfered with, for it is the greatest task to bring the people into the great fold, so that they all can pick up their torches of love and light and shine it out to the world and say, the great divine is bringing love and peace. Let us rejoice in this. Let us go within our hearts and bring it into our thoughts. For we see, we hear, we understand, and we accept. Greetings, I am Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great.
Greetings.